the Play Typer Guide podcast. I'm Stephen Robinson. Joining me today is John Stoehr, editor and publisher of the editorial board. Thanks for joining me, John.
Thanks, Stephen.
It feels as if for both elected Democrats and a lot of people in general, there's a sense of clinging to normality. Like if you're in a bad relationship, you want to sort of desperately believe that things can turn a corner or go back to the way these are, and it eventually disintegrates. That's what I think I'm seeing. What are your thoughts as to what's happening? Like how close are we to things just sort of blowing apart?
Well, when you said blowing apart, what I thought of was that we're very close to a moment when the people who really constitute like the building blocks of society start to really doubt things in a fundamental way. What I mean by those people, I'm talking about property owning, middle class, respectable white people, basically. We're in a situation now where they're even asking if their own local police departments would protect them against ICE. And I've never seen a situation like that. And I don't know, some progressives might say, well, that's good. That's potential for reform and progress. But at the same time, I'm like, that's a really weird situation where like state and local business elites start doubting whether the local police departments are really on their side. I mean, that's and the reason I guffaw at that kind of thing is that the police are always on those people's sides, and so here's Trump really putting a wedge between two groups of people I never thought could be wedged apart. And how that breaks out, over the long term, it could be very chaotic and very disorderly.
What happened to George Floyd and often with Mike Brown or police violence, we are talking about conditions where people had been sort of in an occupied state. And we say that's terrible. And I certainly do not approve of that, but that was sort of quote unquote part of the plan for a long while. And like in the Trump administration, within a year, suddenly basically turned parts of Minneapolis into like South Central, which, you're a white someone who looks like you is suddenly like existing as if you're a character in Boys in the Hood, and the cops come. Like that's not saying that those people deserve to be treated that way. I'm just saying that is how drastic it seems to have shifted, right?
Yeah, I mean, what the death of Renee Good and Alex Preddy has done to the white consciousness, I don't think that can be underestimated. I mean, even the most liberal white person probably didn't really believe that all of what Trump was saying about what he wanted to do to immigrants was going to affect him or her. I would put myself in that camp. Like, well, it'll be really bad and I hate it and it's evil and I want to fight it, but I don't think it's really going to come from me. And here it is coming for me, right? And that's going to be very shocking. And it's going to shock it. I mean, I think even John Stoehr, the Republican leader in the Senate, said this was an inflection point. And I think he knows what he's talking about. When the state starts murdering white people in a white man's country, that's a big deal. I mean, and this still is a white man's country in a lot of ways. I don't need to explain that to you, but I think this is going to break in a lot of unpredictable ways. I don't think much of it's going to be good for Trump. I think I was just saying to somebody that the problem for Trump right now is that he can't control the debate. He can't put out one tweet, or they don't call them tweets anymore, but one post on his social media site. He can't get on Fox and dominate. He can't dominate with lies. Even his smearing of that Democratic representative in Michigan, the one who was attacked recently, he smeared her, but that was a blip on the news, and it's because the narrative is out of his control, and it's out of his control because of what's happening. It's an enormous shock.
There's always been a tension with immigration law, where with Texas, right, under Biden, it was like, we want to patrol the border this way, but the federal government is not doing what we would like to do. And so we're going to aggressively enforce the border. And there's that tension. Here it's like Minnesota has a specific, we don't want you here. We don't have a problem. And he's saying, yes, you do, with no real connection to any sort of like, oh, well, like with Texas and Florida again, here's how we are being hurt because you're not enforcing immigration law. So we're going to take it on our own hands. They're not even saying that. It's just like, we are going to come in and terrorize people and make people disappear. It's horrifying, right? Like it's horrifying.
The difference between this president and every president in my lifetime is that this one's a criminal. He's just outright criminal. And a lot of those crimes have been kind of the sort that can be talked about as if it's like, dirty politics, like the bribery and the corruption and the benefits to his family. A lot of that can be kind of swept under the rug as no big deal and not really affecting the life of normal people. But this kind of thuggery, and it's in the video, is everywhere. Also, I have to say, going back to the point about the impact on white people, is that we're very accustomed to seeing police brutality, police killing non-white folks, black men, and we're also used to seeing the status quo kind of go out of its way to smear the dead, the way they did to Michael Brown and George Floyd and a number of other victims of police violence. I've never seen white murder victims smeared the way Renee Good and Alex Pretty have been smeared, and it's pretty remarkable. And I cannot imagine. I'm going to make this statement, and I don't know where it will go, but it's hard to imagine respectable white people, as I put it, tolerating being treated like black men. It's like, and because this is the country we live in, that their complaints will be heard.
Oh, sure.
You see what I mean? They will be heard. I mean, I was just watching Hakeem Jeffries on CNN. I think he was on yesterday. I'm catching up from yesterday. I've never seen him so aggressive. He is on a war footing. He basically said, we are going to impeach Kristi Noem. He said DHS is a killing machine. He said there will be no funding for DHS, even if Kristi Noem resigns or is fired. And all these reforms, he said, have to take place, and they're really high standard reforms. Like, he basically said that all of ICE and Border Patrol have to behave like normal cops, with normal standards of cops and so on. I've never seen somebody like him so aggressive, and I think it's because he also recognizes the impact of two white people, middle class, educated white people getting murdered by the state. It is an inflection point.
If Democrats win the midterms, and it seems that they're going in that direction, it can't just be that Jeffries gets a promotion. It has to be war footing, the understanding that normal constraints on this presidency won't work. They're going to have to have hearings, going to have to impeach, because he's used to sort of ignoring Congress or having an enabling Congress.
Well, again, when white people start lobbying complaints, politicians tend to listen, and so Jeffries hears it. I mean, Jeffries is the kind of guy who, up until last week or the week before, was the one who would say, look, we know Trump is corrupt and he's terrible and so on, but we really gotta win elections, and so we're going to focus on affordability, right? Affordability, because they believe, or at least the well-paid Democratic consultants believe, that the economy is the best way to get swing voters and things like that. Well, Jeffries issues this statement yesterday with the other two Democratic House leaders, basically saying that accountability and affordability are the same thing. I haven't seen that before, that he's fused them together as a leader, right? I don't know if the same thing applies to Chuck Schumer in the Senate. That's to be seen. But here's Jeffries as the leader saying these are really the same thing now, right? And he's really echoing what we've all seen on the internet, you know, people who like to play golf saying golf isn't political except when you get murdered by the state, then it becomes political. Or hiking isn't political except when you get murdered by the state, then hiking is political. So he's basically echoing this, right? And so this is happening now. So fast forward to the midterms and the presumption that the Democrats will win. It's not going to be just moving on, you know. There's going to be something happening. And I think that will be something, even if Tom Homan really is speaking truthfully when he says there will be a drawdown. I don't think he is speaking truthfully about a drawdown in Minneapolis. I think they're all lying. But even if it's true and suddenly we just go back to, you know, Biden level immigration enforcement, people are not going to forget this. You know, and so on. So I hope if we push them enough, all those Democrats need to be pushed. And fortunately, they seem to be acting like they are being pushed.
Yeah. Though it's the extent to which Trump is not the outlier, right? Because we've always, I think the Biden theory, the Pelosi theory, essentially from Democrats for a certain generation was that Trump is the problem. You remove Trump and the party reverts to, I mean, I guess whenever it was a law-abiding party, I mean, whatever you tend to believe, but whatever, but something not like this. But we've seen how Rubio, who all Democrats voted to confirm, his willingness to go along with the most unconstitutional stuff, the gutting of foreign aid, essentially committing war crimes. He has no problem with that. And then someone like Kristi Noem, who, I mean, she shoots puppies, so maybe there was sort of a clue for the Democrats who did vote for her to confirm her that she's not to be trusted. But to me, someone who's willing to, as you say, smear someone before their parents have even been told they're dead is like, yeah, it is Nazi stuff. It's like, it is a degree of depravity that is hard to, especially the irony being that, like, if you didn't have these people out there videotaping everything, the state would then lie about it with their masked secret police. I mean, Pam Bondi had released footage of protesters who were arrested, which again, you're not supposed to really do. Their images were, while the arresting officers were turned away. So you didn't see them, but you saw the actual citizens. It's like, that is not democracy in any way.
I think I would respond by saying that by asking the question, will the Democrats accept as true that there is such a thing as a legitimate kind of conservatism, meaning that the conservatives really do want equal treatment under law, equality, and so on. And the fact is they don't. No, because inequality is what conservatism is. It is the goal of conservatism. Injustice is also the goal of conservatism. The law should protect in people like me and should punish out people like you, Stephen. And that's the way it should be in their view, according to natural law. And all of this is very clear if you're paying attention. Most people don't pay attention. And so Democrats tend to pander to people who don't pay attention. And they accept as true a lot of the lies that conservatives tell in order to hide the fact that inequality is their goal. And the lies are central, are key to everything, because there is no defense of inequality as a political goal in a country founded on equality. There is no defense, right? So you have to lie, and you have to lie all the time. And you have to get people who don't typically lie to believe those lies, and I'm speaking here about moderate Democrats who tend to accept them as true in order to appear moderate, right? That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what we're seeing right now has the potential to tell a lot of people who have believed lies about Republicans and what conservatism means to be like, it's all a big lie. It's all a big lie. And I'm not going to tolerate any Democrats repeating lies to me that I know are lies.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a very big thing. I don't know how deeply this will go. I don't know how many dots that people who believe lies will start connecting. And I hope they do. I don't think they will in the long term. I think they'll forget like they did after George Floyd was murdered. They just kind of forgot and went and reelected Donald Trump. But that, I think, is where you need to pay attention to those moderate Democrats, like Ruben from Arizona. Remind me his name, Ruben
Galago.
Thank you. He's somebody to watch, because he's one of those, like, he's trying to be the middle of the road kind of guy. Lately, he has been on fire. He is not tolerating any lies. He's actually saying Trump is a liar. Noam is a liar. He's really going forward. And so he will be the bellwether, I think, in terms of where the future of the Democratic Party is.
And he's from a state that's only recently, it's kind of the lightest purple. And yet, because I want to ask you about John Fetterman. I'm sure you've written about him. He's just someone who I have so much contempt for. He essentially, from what I have read, and I guess there's two theories here, but one is essentially ran scared as soon as Bob Casey lost, right? So, oh no, I to keep my job, I need to cozy up to Trump and essentially embrace those lies as you said them. Go on Fox News and be the one hitting, make sure that I make my hits as the Democrat who takes a punch at AOC and Jasmine Crockett. And, I'm going to be the Republican going to be the Democrat who beats up on these women of color and never really call out Trumpism, even though he really became a name in 2020 because he was going on the air calling out lies. So these are Trump's election lies. What's your take on that? Like, just that sort of immediate folding after the 2024 loss? Because it just seems pathetic.
He's a putz. What kind of a man takes one position when it's convenient to him and then takes another one when it's convenient to him? He doesn't really believe in anything he says. I don't really think about Fetterman much because I don't. I think he's a putz, and I try not to spend time thinking about men like him. I've sized him up and I put him in a little box and stick him on the shelf, and I don't think about him much after that. It's that phony maneuver of punching left. That's what he's doing, right? In order to seem moderate. And maybe that works in Pennsylvania. I don't know, if ICE starts going to Pittsburgh and doing what it does in Pittsburgh that it's been doing to Minneapolis, we'll probably see him change his mind, and we'll also know he doesn't mean it when he does change his mind. He doesn't mean anything. I actually don't. I'm glad you brought up Fetterman and some people like him, because there's a whole a trend among folks like us where we like to obsess about these putzes and ultimately though I think we just work ourselves into this kind of lather that ultimately it depletes our energy.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer myself. I agree with you. I prefer to focus on the people who are speaking out and doing the right thing and
Yeah.
standing up. I mean, Chris Van Hollen, who
Yes.
very early on, and others. I can't resist kind of going for that sort of at times talking about the sort of cravenness. One, because it just seems like, oh, look, as Fred Rogers said, look for the helpers. Part of me is sort of like, look at the opportunists, because
Yeah.
they're the ones. Oh, wait a minute. A lot of these. Wait, why are so many men wearing dresses and getting in these lifeboats? Oh no, this ship is sinking. Like you look for people like that to see which way the wind is going. And but it is fascinating. It's fascinating that you have. I mean, maybe he imagines himself as someone who is kind of the Marjorie Taylor Greene of his part. He's willing to but he doesn't believe anything. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is as terrible as she was like, I'll give up my career because this is one thing I believe, maybe. That's very a generous description of her, but he's sort of, it's all very calculated. It's not just like, I've like been radicalized. There was we're around the same age, but there was a lot of center right, I would say, but Democrats, people who would otherwise have voted for Clinton, who became pretty hardcore Bush supporters and even flat out Republicans after 9/11, because that had radicalized them. That they had, to your point, perhaps embraced the lie that Democrats can't be trusted on national security, even though 9/11 happened on Bush's watch, but whatever. And, that I wouldn't say appreciate, I can understand, but like when it just seems like you are just looking at which way the wind goes and looking at for that I have no respect for. I have a lot of respect for the people who are out there trying to do what's right, trying to resist this sort of federal occupation. I do get concerned that where do we go if it keeps being a sense where, when does it become a sense of where there's actual violence, like when Trump refuses to acknowledge, like I'm not trying to like imagine terrible scenarios, but just we keep seeing a political party and a president who's not at all interested in the truth and in the rule of law, and has never surrendered power peacefully, and then somehow got away with it when he tried to steal an election. So what do you think 2026 or 2028 would look like?
Well, with evil people, we should expect them to be evil.
I agree.
We should expect them to be evil. Then so we shouldn't hope that they won't be, because they will be, right? And he will try to do after the midterms. I fully expect him to do after the midterms what he did today in Georgia and send the FBI to go raid an election office. I think he's going to try to do that. The question is not whether an evil man will do evil. The question is, what will good people do to stop evil?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
yeah.
So, and I'm going to sound like a comic book character.
No, that's the right place. This is the right place to do it on, right? Because I write about and I put it in those terms, and it often comes up like Oliver Willis, a great writer, but we often get criticized for perhaps being too critical of Democrats. But it's like and not giving agency to Republicans. It's like, well, it's not that I don't give agency to Republicans. It's just that they're like, Trump is evil. The people who work for him evil. Mike Johnson's evil. They're not fundamentally going to change. Nothing's going to change. I can like have a link to all of my pieces that will go to a diatribe about why they are evil and should not be evil, that evil's bad. But then I need to progress to, okay, how can we as Democrats, the opposition party, truly oppose them? What are smart things that we can do, given that these people are what they are?
So I have a great subscriber who always leaves these most brilliant comments on my pieces. I love it when he takes the time to respond. And he said something brilliant yesterday. He said that if there's a shift going on with people kind of waking up. The first shift will be among highly paid Democratic consultants who realize that their bread and butter is in trouble and they can't keep doing what they've been doing for 30 years. Once we have the senator from Arizona saying things like, I'm not going to tolerate any more lies, that's a problem for Democratic consultants. Now, why are these people, just for those who may be asking, why are we always focused on Democratic consultants? Because they tend to have the ear of the what I think is the most powerful faction within the Democratic Party, and that's the people who have money and who have the most influence on the media. And so there's kind of this inner circle within the Democratic Party, elites, inside elites, who have a consensus opinion about how things should be. And Fetterman, by the way, reads these people like a book. He's like, he does what they would suggest that he do, punch left in order to seem moderate. Well, he does it in this kind of working class style or whatever it is. So if my subscriber, his name is Thornton Prayer, if he is right, I think he is, that will be really a big deal, because then you'll have Democrats listening to the actual bottom of the party, like normal people, and not the top.
Yeah,
and that's what I see right now. Jeffrey's doing. Schumer is another question, but I see Jeffrey's doing that.
And to your point, I think the consultants, their concept of the average swing voter and their sort of who's deciding elections, they think about these folks who have voted Republican in the past, might identify Republicans, or are close to Republicans. So there's money, there's no risk in attacking AOC or Ilhan Omar. It makes you look more clever and willing to sort of assert your dominance over the out group, right? Because they're visibly the out group, and that's important. But they also they're less likely to be someone who these swing voters know personally. Right. People like them. And then you, of course, as when people were just making fun of Erica Kirk or how she was dressed, I remember Fetterman was quicker to respond than he was after a man was murdered by ICE. So because, again, Erica Kirk is someone who was either like these swing voters or these swing voters know very well, and so rushing in to defend her honor gets you on the right side of them. So everything, he wants to be the one that the Republican dad says, oh, that guy's not so bad. Yeah. Which even though that Republican dad is never going to vote for, and the Republican dad in this case, in many cases, it's also Fetterman. Fetterman's father loves him when he's on Fox. But that also gets even sort of the moderate Democrat son or daughter of the Republican dad will then think, oh, that Fetterman's more electable than AOC, because my dad, who I always have hope, I hold out hope for, right? My dad kind of, he's a Republican, he's a Democrat that my dad likes. So maybe my dad would vote for him, or if not, won't be so angry at holiday dinners that I voted for him. But it's all a lie, right? Like it's all rooted in this flawed premise of how these elections work and how you can actually appeal to different groups. I mean, I will concede that, yes, Obama was part of that. Like early, there was a lot of people before, I guess, the Tea Party or whatever. There were cases of, like, especially a lot of Republicans would immediately had negative opinions of Hillary Clinton, but they would say something about like, oh, that Obama, he speaks so well, and other stuff. Like he was kind of the, a Democrat that these Republicans liked. He was sort of he could be president on my action movie film. Wait a minute, he's president for real? What's going on? So I do hope the consultants get a different idea of what motivates voters or what challenges them.
I think everything would be better if they just focused on values. I mean, and truth, especially truth. I mean, so much of this stuff is Stephen. It's just about how many lies and to what degree do you want to accept them. And I mean, and it's not like these are all the politicians in Washington really do understand what the truth is.
Yeah,
they do. They're just choosing, making choices as to which one they think is better for them.
Well, yeah, and the consultants live in these focus groups. Sarah Longwell, the Bulwark, and she's a nice lady, but she also does a lot of these focus groups. And what I would love is I want the West Wing or a political move. I want the version of like the candidate kind of saying, what did this? Why am I listening to focus groups? I'm just going to go to a bar. I'm just gonna do the King Henry thing, right? I'm gonna put on just a hoodie and whatever. I'm gonna go, especially if it's like a Senate candidate, right? Someone not immediately recognizable. I'm just gonna go, and not who we should be voting for. And I've said that this is no offense to Nancy Pelosi or anyone who's been in office for so long, but there's a degree of which could she even get an honest answer if she went to a black beauty parlor or something? I want the person who could just stroll into the barbershop and just talk, listen to what people are talking about and I feel like you'd get a more honest sense of where voters are, because all this consultant stuff is rooted on how these are worded. So it's like, oh no, well, these they, them ads, how do we respond to them? And we're terrible. And it was like, okay, well, pretty easily, I think you got fooled by thinking essentially voters were told that Harris and Democrats cared more about trans people or coastal elites, essentially people I don't know, the average voter, over my own life. And somehow you just couldn't respond to that with just, no, we care about everybody. The people trying to divide us are the ones who are trying to screw you. I care about everyone. And I think, again, if you just got to that barbershop, you would have gotten that sense of where people are. I mean, I think I'm not overstating the kind of nobility of the average person. I think people say a lot of crappy stuff and believe a lot of crappy stuff, but you'd be surprised by what is important to them and what really is a deal breaker for them. And to your point with values, right? They just like someone who isn't full of crap. They're actually giving you what their feeling is. So what they truly believe. It hasn't been workshopped. It's naturalistic. I think there's a challenge that Democrats can sometimes have. A lot of their stuff feels natural. It does not feel naturalistic. It feels like it's been workshopped and written by people like us. Jeffries, I feel like I have that issue with Jeffries. I never feel like I'm hearing from him. It's very controlled. I know Democrats will say there's a reason that, Black Democrats and especially women Democrats sound so controlled, and they can't just, speak off the cuff and because everything. But we've got to get past that. I think you've got to sound like a normal person. I think the reason you said this in Arizona is compelling is that he just sounds like a normal person.
Yeah.
And when he claps back at JD Vance, it's like, what? You're an asshole. He speaks like a normal. What is a normal response when someone says something like this? And it is to be like, you're an asshole or whatever, right?
Yeah, with a crisis like the one in Minnesota, there's a kind of, it's amazing how truthful suddenly people who traffic in lies become, right? And they're I think Democrats really suffer from, it's that consultant class mentality, the focus group mentality. It's the idea of we need to figure out what voters want and then give it to them. It's like, you just need to tell voters what they want. You just need to tell them. Just tell them. Tell them this is a problem. We all know it's a problem, and here's what I'm going to do to fix it. Mm-hmm. Just say it. Instead of this, it's this chasing. I call it chasing the horizon.
Yeah.
If you know how the horizon keeps moving every time you get closer to it, but if you keep trying to chase it, thinking you're going to get it, you're never ever going to get it. Classic example is immigration here. With the Democrats constantly chasing the horizon with immigration, thinking that they can just throw more money at the border, throw more money at ICE, and they will always get credit for it. They never get credit The Republicans lie constantly about an open border. The border has never been open, ever. Right? None of the borders have ever been open, but they constantly say it, no matter what the Democrats do. And yet the Democrats keep chasing after that horizon. It's, I guess another way of putting it is the Lucy and the football, right? They keep thinking they're going to kick that thing, and they never do.
Well,
so if they stop with that expectation, then we'll have like as a party, like as the middle, the great globular middle of the Democratic Party just stops playing along, we'll be in a much better place.
No, to your point, because the immigration bill that Biden tried to pass at the end was sort of, to me, such a classic example of that, because, obviously Trump killed it. Like, it's during an election. Why would he kill it? And Harris tried, like, she ran on the whole shame on Trump. We had a great bill and Trump killed it. And it's like, well, yeah, because he already won. You admit it. We fucked up. Yeah. And now we're hat in hand to pass this. It's just like, what? Like, it's like, and I'm going to say in advance, if it's 2028 and Democrats have, especially the Senate or even just the House, because it all takes the House to stop something, and Vance wants to pass some sort of, even if some slightly positive bill, you should block it. Whoever the Shapiro or whatever should block it. Say, no, don't trust those guys. You're going to get something better with me. And of course, it'll be honest, because they definitely would be. Like, of course. So I think that was quite clear. So you said of chasing the horizon. I wish part of the messaging with Democrats would be stop kind of just telling me what's going on. It's like, I'm sick of these Democrat messages, just like, it'll be from Klobuchar or Tina Smith or everyone will be like, or Schumer. It's like, economy's bad and Trump tried to invade Greenland, and then this listing of all the problems. And it's like, okay, like you should not communicate unless you're saying, here's a problem and here's how I will fix it. And people will say that Fox News doesn't do that, or Republicans don't do that, but Trump did. I mean, those are all lies. So yes, I grant it's harder to say I'm going to fix something if you're actually planning to do it. But it's a little harder, but you need to actually do it, because otherwise in a vacuum, it's going to seem as if you're not interested in resolving something.
I think at this point, I want that you give me an opportunity to cut the Democrats some slack a little bit in that we have an information environment, especially the Washington press corps, that holds the Democrats to a kind of its double standard. I think somebody recently, the way they put it was that Republicans are daddy, and when daddy gets upset, he's just had a bad day. And the Democrats are mommy, and if she gets upset and does something, she's a bitch. So they really and the media does treat the parties like that. So the Democrats have to work within that environment. That's why I don't know. It's just
can't they just I mean, Republicans spent like decades sort of working the refs, like just be daddy. There's no one. This casting isn't permanent. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with the gendered coding that's out there, but there's nothing saying that you can't be the aggressor there or to set the standard. Like, you need to. I get it. I mean, I think it's the idea that like the media knows that they're going to get counted or that they're going to get cut access from. They know that there's going to be consequences if I cross or push, or they're going to give me grief. Like even after, and I'd written about this, right? Like Republican, when Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson would go when they're selling their book about Biden, the Republicans were still like slapping him around for like, you should have been going on about this earlier or whatever. And it's like, well, no, I mean, I think it all, as if there was like not a lot of media coverage on Biden's age, as if he wasn't like clearly had problems with his approval rating because of it. They were still going for blood because they firmly believe this idea that the media is out there protecting Democrats and it's unfair to Republicans. That's part of their brand. I think Democrats have to break through. Democrats have to sort of like say we're not going to play by these same rules. We're not going to play by these same game. Like we're not going to be the good guys.
They do during a crisis.
Yeah.
You know, the Republicans have such a control over the media that they can manufacture crisis. You know, they just, you know, with Trump, he can just lob some allegation against somebody and everybody chases after that allegation. Except when there's a crisis. I mean, right now we have this one that Trump has literally created, but the last one was, he didn't literally create it, the pandemic, right? When the pandemic was going on, he lost control of the narrative. There were too many people who had too many opinions to say, right? Too many people talking, and he couldn't shout them all down. So Democrats have an advantage with the press corps when there is a crisis.
Oh yeah.
I think you're right though, that they ought to have a different attitude toward the press corps. And when I say press corps, I mean like the legit people, not the right wingers or the influencers or something. I mean like CBS, they really ought to start punching them.
Yeah.
You know, really, because their owners are not interested in being
propaganda. It's surprising to me that any Democrat would have the idea, and a lot do that, and did during the Biden administration, of let's just ignore Trump, when the evidence clearly from the pandemic, I would argue that he lost in part because the pandemic, people couldn't go away, people were aware of what he was saying and how unfit he was. He always benefited from when people could kind of forget about him, right? Like, and so the past years, they were able to sort of do that. And I think the benefit is to put him out there, to make him that he can't, and that you're defining a narrative on him, that you're putting him on the defensive. And I think we can do sort of more of that. And that involves putting the media on the defensive. I think we just have to kind of like, this is the media we have, this is the Republican Party we have. We need to change how we communicate to them. It's not the Tim Russert years anymore, right? Or, you know, so in the time we have left, where can people find you, find your thoughts? How can they support your journalism?
Sure. It's called The Editorial Board. It's my newsletter. It comes out almost every day, and it's at editorialboard.com. And all my stuff is there.
And it's a really good read. Please subscribe. Please support local independent journalism before it goes away. Let him take a vacation. You do a lot of you do a lot of the writing yourself. So that's a lot of work. So let him be able to take a couple. But you don't even take a vacation. You do what I do. You just wind up like stockpiling. So you just work really, really hard for 2 weeks to take a few days off. But
yeah, you wear yourself out to go take a vacation.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts. I would love to have you back on, because I know there's going to be more of this occurring as we get closer to midterms. So everyone, like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Stephen.